Some things are better left unsaid. Take it from me, some things are better left unsaid.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Unspoken. I believe it's episode 13. We had a little break last week, just a mid-season break, but we are back now and we are really happy that you are watching or listening. This week we're going to discuss deliberate deception, and I'm going to throw it over to Jonathan and he'll unpack that for us.
Hi, Josh. Yeah, it was just interesting to really realize it was number 13. That's an unlucky number for some. And talking about deception. So I've always thought about the idea of entering Survivor if I could and if they would accept me. Survivor is a game of trying to get yourself to the end by playing the game the best as possible. And part of that, I feel, is lying, is saying things in the best way possible for you to be believed. And so I've thought about, okay, as a Christian, how am I going to be viewed on Survivor as saying I'm a Christian, but I'm lying to people's faces, or I am just putting some deception in there, or not answering straight, or something like that. Recently, I've also been playing a game called Among Us online. It's a game where you are one of the imposters, if you're an imposter, and you go around needing to do tasks, but also to kill a person, like this in a cartoon way on that game. And then you have to prove that you're innocent. If a person didn't see you, then they don't have anything to go by, and you can just say, no, you were in this room. And I definitely wonder if, as a Christian, we are not allowed to, or is it sin? Am I engaging in a sinful act when I am deceiving, people that I'm talking to and saying, no, this is not the case. Even in poker, when you're trying to, it's part of the game where you kind of not showing your full hand, you're keeping the cards close to your chest, and you're like, I'm going to put in some chips here. Maybe gambling is a different topic, but are we allowed to, as Christians, engage in this deceitful acts and manner? What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, it's an interesting topic. This is a line. Where's the line of the cross from lying? Lying. I suppose lying in a bad way, but yeah, lying, and then the strategic deception where you're playing a game, or you're playing a role, or you're in a situation where you have to strategize, and then in a sense, it's more. It's a difficult one. It is a difficult one because you can't. We don't want to be one of those people who go around saying, "Oh well, now." In that case, and then we have to then not tell our children about Father Christmas because that's a lie. So
Yes.
our children's going to grow up without Father Christmas, without the Tooth Fairy, I mustn't say it too loud, I might be hearing upstairs.
Tooth Fairy is real, Josh. Tooth Fairy is real.
To what extent do you entertain the fantasy and the fun for your children? I'm slightly off topic now, but also then where does the line come in between telling the truth? I know, telling the truth and actually deceiving, because I know children. I grew up, when I was a child, I grew up with friends whose parents didn't tell them about Father Christmas. They just straight saying this and this is how it doesn't exist. They weren't going to say anything to them. Which it's sad in a way, because it's nice to live in a make-believe world where we imagine things. And coming back to your topic, the game side, it's try play poker without a bit of bluffing. It's you're not going to get very far. But as you say,
it's definitely part of the game. It's definitely The grounding, yeah. Sorry, go for it.
No. I mean, it applies to many games. There's many strategic games, you know, and it depends how far do you take it. I mean, a while ago we were talking about some games, you know, some other similar topic, but not, you know, about lying and things like that, being honest. But this, I don't think this is it. I think this is for entertainment and for fun. Are we allowed to do that as Christians?
So yeah, the most basic game that I think about is the game of cheat or BS, in the, depending on which term you want to play it. And that is specifically designed that in order for you to pretty much win, you have to be calling bluffs. You have to be getting a certain way. Otherwise, I don't think I've ever seen one person win, you know, not telling them exactly what's in your hand.
Yes.
And so it's fun. I mean, there's Mafia and there's One Night Ultimate Werewolf where it's encouraged to work out, you know, and you just put in a position where you need to lie. And so, yes, the question is, if we aren't meant to be lying, then we need to not play these games, right? We need to put away a whole bunch aside, or if we are, and then it's okay. Then we can decide in our conscience or in our ethics or all that type of line, then it's all right. But I do agree with you. Where is the line? And that's why I bring up Survivor, because it is a game context, but it's also real life, right? It's also, if you make it to get all the way, like 39 days of deception. You know, it's not just 2 hours or a card game or something. So
I think, yeah, I think the difference would have to be what is the pretense of the situation you're going into. You know, if people are going into the game of Survivor and they gonna, I mean, that's one of the strategies, is that's it. People be deceitful, or they don't be totally honest in different situations, because that's, you know, that's what's one of the options of the gameplays. It's not the only option, but it is an option. And it's the same with it. You know, people going to play poker, or they're going to play that Among Us game. You know, they know that this is part of the rules. This is what's advertised. This is what it says in the box. So it's, you go in there expecting that this is what people are going to be doing. They're going to be, you know, I have to call them on their bluff, or I'm going to have to call them, you know, on the deceitfulness. And then this is what, you know, it's kind of expected. I think where it comes in is a hypocrisy side, where you go in and you say, you know, I'm not lying, you know, oh, I don't lie, I'm a Christian, I don't lie. And then on the side, actually you are, because that's different. You know, if that's, I think it comes down to the type of person you are, and actually your heart in the end of the day. You know, if you're genuinely trying to be deceitful and be a bad person in that situation, then that's, I would say that no, you know, you shouldn't be doing that. But if you're doing it as part of the game, and this is for entertainment, and everybody's aware that this is it, then I would lean towards yes.
Would you also lean toward yes, if I say that all politics are going to be lying, and then therefore they can lie?
Well, the thing is, politicians are a lot like lawyers. You know, they've kind of got the reputation that's what the jobs entail. You know, but it's not that open. You know, there's people here in the UK. You know, especially the you know, of the middle age to the older age people, who don't expect the politicians to lie to them. They don't. It's just not what they're expecting. This person on TV is telling them the truth. You know, the leader of the country is telling them the truth. You know, they said, listen, you know, Ireland has sunk, there's no more Ireland. Then they'll believe it. They're not going to go and look out the window to check for themselves. They're going to like, well, this guy said it, I believe it. And unfortunately, that's just the way it is. And the younger generation, you know, the new people, young people being born into social media and born with the internet, you know, they don't believe that. You know, they want to see things before they actually believe things. You know, they're kind of like, well, you said that, but I've just checked. It took me 3 seconds to find out that 10 other people have said that's wrong. So they double check their facts, it seems. So it's a different world. So I wouldn't, so politicians, I don't think you can really put them in the same, because they shouldn't be lying. It's like they're making promises, and it's a different type of situation. It's not really a game. It's a serious situation.
Yeah, I was just thinking though that the outcome of it is to reach the top or to reach a certain goal. And similarly to a game, what you're trying to achieve a certain outcome, and therefore that's why you're lying. And so a politician or a lawyer is bringing up particular facts or aiming a particular stance so that you can be viewed in a certain way. And that's why I bring up that similarity, because I think that's a similarity. They are not intentionally saying that I'm lying here and this is what's going to happen, but I do want to get into parliament, or I do want to make sure that the person has less of a sentence, or I do want to skew the results to make sure that I have the best outcome. So that the question is then, is it so what you're saying is, what I'm hearing you saying is that in a particular scenario where we've all agreed that this is going to happen, then the person's off the hook. But if it's meant to be, if it's out in a public environment and no one's signed off the paper or no one's entered the game knowing that this is going to happen, then that's not okay.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. I mean, as you say, yes, there are people who it's their strategy in life. They consider life as a game, and their strategy is to be deceitful and do what they need to do to win or to get to the top in there. But there are players, as you say, and there are players who don't know they're playing the game, and then that's life, and then they're being lied to. So that's a no. You can't. Where in Survivor, everybody's signing up, and by now, I think it's about 33 years of Survivor. It's been going on for a long time. So everybody knows that is one of the, if not, you're making alliances and then you break alliances and you're making deals, and so wheeler dealer, and it's like who can get away with it. It's part and parcel of what you're going into. So I think like if you're going to play up, go play Among Us, the game, and and you surprised that you've asked this guy if it was him and he said no, and now you can't believe that this guy's actually lied to you. Well, then you don't, obviously you don't know the game then, because if that's the point of it, then then you, So you have to expect it, and then I think for game purposes, for strategy game, then you can't be classed as a sin. It's like if you're playing Monopoly and whatever, you roll 3 6s. You're not going to get into trouble for I'm not saying no. Being a heavy Christian saying 666 is devil's number. Well, I'm just saying is, it's in a game. You're not being serious. You're not going to be held liable.
But what about then if people are watching on Survivor, they're watching the episode that I would be in or the Christian's in, and they see, look, this Christian is willing to lie. This Christian is being deceitful, and what makes that person different to any of the other ones? Or in a game that I know that there's some deception, or there's like in a poker, but it still, like in a family environment, like that person lied to me, for 2 hours I've been playing this game, and they were telling me this certain thing, and I believe them. I trusted them. You get hurt. People are watching Survivor, and they're like, how can this person do this? Then my question is, then you're not transparent. You're not, is that fair for people to judge you then, or to say, like this, that's really bad. How can you do that to me?
Yeah, Survivor is a difficult one because they're part of your journey, and obviously it can be edited in a certain way to make it look worse or not. Because it's not, there is producing involved. Possibly as a Christian, then you should either not put yourself in that place and join Survivor, Or if you do, then don't lie, and just go straight honest and tell from everybody from the straight get-go that, I'm not going to lie. If you want to make allowance for me, it's great. But if somebody else asks me, then I'm going to tell it straight. I'm going to be, and then you just decide to be, there was a movie about that. He can't lie. Was it Jim Carrey or something? Anyway, so that's where you go. I don't. That's a very good point that you brought up there. That there'll be other people watching, and that they'll be making their decisions and seeing, well, this person's a Christian, and they're being very lying. And possibly, the editors and producers of the series would want to do that to kind of stir the pot a bit, to kind of get more, talk about it in the news. So
I mean, it would make great. Yes, it would make some great TV, and you can do some kind of article. People oh, look at this Jonathan character who says he's a Christian is deceiving. And so I think in that sense, the Bible I think is quite clear on not lying. It's also clear perhaps on not causing other people to stumble. Right. And there's one thing I think about it. 1 Corinthians 8:9, it says, I'll read it here. It says, be careful, however, that the exercise of your rights does not become a stumbling block to the weak. And so right then it's saying is that what you're doing does have consequences. So perhaps I think I would agree. I definitely would agree that inside a gaming, in a game of cards that you're cheating, or poker, or some coup, or all sorts of different options. I think there is an understanding that okay, this is a lying game, and you're going to tell me, about 5 seconds afterwards, no, you lied. I'm like, yes, I did lie. You're right. But the consequences are still there. I think there's still people who are like, no, but this is still sin, and yeah, I struggle with if we should be. I think the Bible would say that you shouldn't be playing the game if a person's going to take offense. And therefore, maybe in Survivor, I can't play Survivor because it's not in a parameter of understanding.
Yes,
and if you're in a family environment where we're playing a game of Mafia or whatever the game is, and someone's going to get hurt, then we can't play the game. I think possibly. Which just sounds really sucky, but unless everybody's happy with all 10 players are happy that, okay, there's going to be some deception here and it will hurt a little bit, but we can get over it. It'll be fine.
Yes, that's a good thought. While we're talking about games, if we can go slightly broader on the topic, what about Christians playing violent games, or games with swearing in, or Grand Theft Auto, where there's all sorts of other things going on in that game as well? What are your thoughts on that? Is it okay? Is it not? Or
yeah, so this is definitely I've heard this topic going around. Definitely for when you're raising your children, and for what age group and that type of stuff. I would say there's certain games that are definitely go way too far in this type of genre. Like some GTAs are quite intense on their storylines, and it's not just top down. That you putting a person out of a car anymore. It's more 3D and stuff. There's also some nudity in some games that is pretty intense, and I wouldn't allow definitely certain ages of children to play certain games. The question is whether the normal first-person shooter games where you're actually aiming a gun, even virtually, to people and killing them and ending their game, transfers to real life. And I would say that if we have the science that says that 100% transfers, then I would say that we shouldn't be playing the games whatsoever. But I don't know. I think it's a understanding again here of your consciousness, your conscience. If a person around you or your family member or something like it feels that this is actual murder and actual grossness, like blood or gore,
Mm.
and that it is a sinful act, and then we shouldn't be doing it.
Mm.
Or we shouldn't be, like, we can play it on our time, but then we can't play it when they're around, or that case. It's definitely a stumbling block.
Mm.
For me personally, there's a big gap in my mind between my online playing of Call of Duty or Battlefield or Counter-Strike or any other first-person shooter genre, and me taking a life of a person in real
Mm.
life. I would never ever contemplate owning a gun and using it for extreme
Mm.
violence.
Mm.
However, playing a game, it's fun to get to do that.
Mm.
In fact, it's maybe a release of tension in some cases that
Mm.
that could be dangerous in psychology, I guess. Yeah, so this is a point where we can get into this world and I don't want to say experience these things, but definitely enjoy, like, going around in a war and in these environments. But yes, if it's going to be a stumbling block for friends, where because it's gore or because it is murder, just not in real life, then probably we shouldn't be able to do this. What have you
Mm.
heard, or what have you discussed with people in this
Yeah, I
topic?
mean, as you say, I mean, that's pretty much what the thoughts are. Is that so long that you aren't causing a stumbling block. I mean, I know a few years ago I was just chatting to a new Christian. He recently became a Christian, and we were just talking about games and things, and I was like, yeah, no, I also play, I think it was Call of Duty at the time. He was talking about it. He's like, good. And in that particular instance, I think he kind of felt like we can relate because now he's come to this scary environment of a church and he doesn't really know anybody and he's kind of like still new and he doesn't want to be judged and something. But then because he can now make a connection with somebody who's in the church but then also playing a game. So in that particular time, I think it was a good thing because then he didn't feel like he was going to be judged or,
Mm.
I don't want to say he's, oh, that's violent. Oh, no, I shouldn't be playing that, but I think,
Yeah.
if somebody could possibly take offense, to something that, oh yeah, now play Grand Theft Auto, and they're like, oh, we heard some really bad things about it. What are you doing? That's actually is. And so, for instance, in that way, maybe, or then they think, oh, because Jonathan
Yeah.
plays it or Josh plays it, then I can also play it, and then you guys and play. That's a different. That's causing a stumbling block. And it's the same. I also, when I was younger, I knew some parents of friends of mine who we weren't allowed to play cards. They believed that playing cards was wrong. So we weren't allowed to play cards, which was, I
Hmm.
just didn't understand it at all. I didn't come back, I wasn't raised in the same way. So I found it really frustrating. But out of respect for them, we didn't play cards because they just know, like, no, we don't agree with it. And that's a lot of things. There could be anything, uh, taking your hat off when you go to church, not wearing a hat, dressing maybe
Hmm.
differently to what you normally dress, just because it's all about causing a stumbling stone. And if it is, if it is going to be that you don't want to go play a certain game or be on Survivor, because a lot of people might see that and then look at it badly, then that's something we need to consider. And it's not a burden. It's a privilege to be looked at by other people who see this is a Christian. Look, this is a Christian. I mean, the whole point is to be Christ-like. That's what Christian means, to be Christ-like. So if we are portraying something that is not, direct, how Jesus would be necessarily, then we shouldn't really be doing it if we are in a situation where people are going to be looking to us to see Jesus. But if we're in a situation where we have a bunch of Christians, or as you say, family members, and we're all in a certain understanding, and we're like, no, it's fine, we're all gonna have a bit of fun now, we're gonna, it's all about bluffing, and then it's not wrong.
Yeah, I also think the age thing comes into matter, like kind of like maturity or understanding of what's happening in your game, and so a person playing Minecraft and using a sword to chop a zombie or something like that is different to the same age person, perhaps, taking a knife and stabbing a person,
Mm.
you know, and with that graphics of how much blood and that type of thing. So I would definitely be wise and in counsel of letting different age groups play certain games. You can also change settings on games that you can minimize the gore version of it
Mm.
as well. So if it's you want to be a bit less kind of
Mm.
uh, exposed to that type of stuff, you can definitely take all that those settings off.
Mm.
But yeah, I think I fully agree with this idea of the stumbling block and not making your friend in any situation or family uncomfortable. And so in the same way, if you I wouldn't necessarily play cheating or lying games with children who don't understand that they can lie in this situation but can't
Yes.
necessarily lie in real life because it becomes very fuzzy. And to come back to draw maybe a conclusion, I think it's similar with the Tooth Fairy or with Father Christmas. I don't have children, and Lord willing, in the future I will, but there is a difference between what you're doing, what your goal is here. And if your child will be able to see that later on, there's a difference between what you're doing and what you weren't, about saying to them about the Tooth Fairy and Christmas, the reason behind that, and that you won't lie to them in general, then it's okay. But if for some reason you know that you're not going to be able to get them to understand that, or then I don't think we should be lying to them then.
Yes.
But you can say, no, this Tooth Fairy and the Father Christmas, yes, you're right, I was dishonest and lied to you, but it wasn't because I was lying to you or just trying to deceive you. It was for X, Y, and Z. Maybe that's okay.
Yes. No, that's a good talk.
Yeah.
Good thoughts. I agree. At the end of the day, young people shouldn't be playing games that are definitely above their age. Especially spending the more time you spend on it, you're spending hours and hours. You end up, it's basically like playing with a friend who's not a good influence. It's just the same. You need to be careful what you put in, and parents, especially, they want to raise their children correctly in a Christian way. They shouldn't be allowing their kids to play anything that is, especially if it's rated, for instance, 15 or 16, 17, whatever, and the children are younger, they should definitely not be letting them play that. But yeah, go out, have fun, don't feel condemned, don't feel judged. Just make sure that everybody knows where you're coming from, and that deceitfulness or is part of the strategy or the bluffing, whatever the situation is, that everybody's aware of it, and don't just put it out the bag and say, oh, well, you should have known. Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, sorry, I know you want to close there, but if you are feeling condemned and you are feeling judged, then examine, then check with your heart and and then take a break or pause. But yeah, that's what I'll add.
Yes, that's very true. You need to be listen to the Holy Spirit or your conscience, and listen to what's going on, and just feel how you feel. And as you say, stop it for a bit, or don't play it, or just double check every now and again. Thank you, John. That was a good chat. And thank you for those who are listening or watching. As usual, comment, share, like, and let us know what you'd like us to chat about. We'd love to hear more from you. So until next time, thank you, John, and we'll see you on the flip side.
Bye.
Some things are better left unsaid. Take it from me, some things are better left unsaid.